What's going on, beautiful people? So I've come into the studio like I do every day, and I was shocked to see what was in front of me. So 2 weeks ago we set up the African River tank. It didn't look like this after I'd finished setting it up, that's for sure. All that hard work gone for nothing, and a really heavy feeling in my heart. Oh no, I'm doing it again. I'm really exaggerating, aren't I? The tank has got diatoms. Let's just chill out for a minute. This is also known as new tank syndrome for those of you who've had it before as well and gone, oh, I must start again. I say that because back in the day, I used to think I'd done something wrong, and I did used to actually start again. Okay, granted, not on this scale because I only had small tanks back then, but I used to panic, and yeah, everything comes out of the tank and we just repeat the same process. Now the thing is, this is normal, yeah? We get this all the time, every tank. It's just so annoying. It makes you feel like you've taken a huge step back when really you haven't. Like, it's just a process it has to go through, especially the tank when you've got so much sand like we've got. I used a ton of sand in this to cap all the nutrients down in those different bags I put underneath. Basically underneath I had some Ziploc bags that I put a load of substrate in, and then on top of that I put aquasoil as well. So then that all needed to be capped down, and that's where the sand came in. Now where there's sand there's usually diatoms as well, so that's what we're seeing here. It's not a big problem, it's not something that I'm like worried about. But you just gotta get, what I like to do with the diatoms like this is let them do their thing, like leave them in there like this for a week and then clean it off, because I'll show you why. It's only normally about a week that it happens, and then they just sort of stay in one place and don't go on new growth, for instance. That's how you can tell it's the right time to carry on and sort of clean it up. It's because the new growth is completely clean. I'll show you. So if we take a look at these S. repens leaves, you can see the top ones, which is brand new growth. Well, they're completely clean. It's only all the leaves that are just below that have been hit by the light and have got the diatoms on them. And interestingly, only areas that have been hit with direct light are receiving the diatoms. Receiving? Is that the right word? Having? Getting? No one wants to receive diatoms, do they? So for instance, this leaf here has got diatoms all on it, and just below it where it's shading that piece of wood, no diatoms, and then a ton of diatoms on the wood behind it. Now these diatoms actually showed up, I'd say about 4 days ago, so it's not like we're in the first part of it. It's actually getting better every day now that I come into the studio. So as you would expect, the worst parts hits are the parts that are closest to the lights. This Bulbitis has been hit hard. Look at that, the leaves are absolutely covered, but look at the new growth right in the center there. First of all, that's really good to see, because Bulbitis is one of those that I kind of struggle with. Some people say you need CO2 with it, but look, we've got two new prongs is it? I'm not even sure, growing right out of the cluster there, and that is just a great sign. It means we're going to get some good success in that location. Bulbitis seems to like flow, so that's why I put it there, because it's getting like sort of hit quite a bit with the power head. So where do we even start with a job like this? Well, the first thing I always start with is the glass, give it a nice clean down, and then you can actually see what you're working with. And to be honest, other than the edge of the sand, the glass is looking pretty decent, just these bottom sort of areas that we're seeing here. But look, if you look up the side there, I can't really see that well. Anyway, it all needs a wipe down. We should assume that it's all covered anyway and clean everywhere. That's the best bet. So what I'm going to try and do with this tank is eventually get it like the ecosystem aquarium, where I very rarely do anything to it at all. Not even water changes, so that one's been 6 months, as many of you know, no water change. I want to get to the point with this tank where I'm doing very minimal water changes. I feel it will need a few more than the ecosystem aquarium, because we're going to have a higher stocking level. The fish are bigger, they require more food, they poop a lot more. But I really do feel that once we get it all sort of grown in a bit more, the lilies have gone to the surface and covered out a bit of the light, we won't be required to do a ton of maintenance on this tank at all, and could just sit back and enjoy it. Maybe a glass scraping every now and again, but that's about it. Yeah, make sure you're being gentle when you're cleaning out your pipe work. The good thing about diatoms though is they just wipe off so easily, like you barely have to give any pressure at all and it just comes off clean. But then that's just the same for all the hardscape as well. Even the wood just brushes off nicely, the rocks, yeah. That's what I'm saying, if there's any algae you want, it's this one. And don't forget to use your toothbrush and razor blade to get into any hard to reach places as well. Right, that's the glass clear. The water's looking a little bit murky. The fish are freaking out back there because they haven't got a clue what's going on. We can see what we're doing a little bit better now. Next up, I like to take a toothbrush and just sort of roughly go over all the different surfaces. We're not going to be able to get everything off. You just have to accept that and it will just go on its own eventually. But most of the big areas and the flat surfaces, like on the rocks, we can get off. And some of the big plants we'll be able to rub with our finger as well, and that should work. There we go. I didn't spend too much time trying to clean the leaves, but you know, I did the best I could. You can't go over everything. So for instance, the S. repens you can see back there. If I try and rub all, it's so dark because it's all gone murky because of scrubbing all that wood. But if I try and rub all the leaves on there, they'll just break off because it's a very sort of delicate leafed plant. Whereas the Anubias, so like that Anubias petite, look, I could give it some. And also all the Anubias in the middle here, I could get that looking awesome as well. Look how vibrant it is. That's actually how it looks, guys. I'm not even kidding you. These lights, absolutely brilliant. 30-watt LED floodlights. You cannot go wrong. But yeah, next up, nice big water change. I'm going to do about a 50% one. It's been a while since I did a big one. And then we can fill it back up and it should be looking pretty good. Water change and cleaning done. We are G to G. Now that is going to look clear in 3, 2, 1 now. So it is a day later. Look at how good it's all looking. I think it's looking even better than when I first set it up now. Reason being is that now most of those diatoms have gone. We've still got some on the leaves, but what I normally find is that once you do a big cleanup like this, any that are left sort of start to go away much quicker now. That I don't know what it is. It's like when there's less in the tank, less produce. I don't know. I've got no science to back this up. It's just what I've observed. And I have got to bring you in on this Riccia. Oh, hello, fella. Look at that. Looking good. The coloration on these female Congo tetras is really, really picking up now. They're looking so good, aren't they? But yeah, as I was saying, the Riccia moss taken off. Look at that. It was flat to the rock, like right down at the base there when I first set it up 2 weeks ago. It's absolutely loving the lights in this tank. It's the same down low as well, so it's not light intensity that's infecting it. Even there, look, it's a shaded more area and it's still growing absolutely brilliant. I mean, it's probably going to get my nerves soon because I'm going to have to trim it. It's going to get everywhere. But something interesting that's happening down here, we've got our lily. And it's a tiger lotus, sorry, and it is a lily as well, but this one has got more sort of green tones to it with the odd piece of red. We've got new leaves. All these base ones here are new leaves. Those big ones that are looking a bit drab are old leaves, which will probably drop off at some point. But if we come across over to the other side of the aquarium, down here, look at this side, properly red. Now, I don't really know why, because it's actually more shaded there, so I would have thought the higher lighting would give more of a red tone, but maybe it's to do with the nutrient layer underneath. Maybe the one on that side is right in on the aqua soil. This one's maybe not quite reaching it yet. I don't know. We'll soon find out, because in a couple of weeks' time, hello, look at the crib there. Look at him. Colours have got so vibrant and good in here. He's loving it. I see him all the time as well, whereas I didn't before. He feels way more comfortable. Absolutely loving this setup. So it's been absolutely ages since I showed you little Timmy's tank. Let me show you how he's getting on, how the tank's getting on. It's not really developed much, but it has just got better overall. And there we go, look at that beauty. Hello, mate. How you doing? Yeah, I'll give you some food in a minute. So, look, it's doing great overall. There's a little bit of sort of griminess down here on the plants. We are just at the back end of our diatom phase. All these plants were actually brown a couple of weeks ago, but look at them now. They've got all these new leaves coming through that are staying clean. That's how you know the diatom phase is over, but it's just looking so real, doesn't it? Like it looks like the corner of some sort of dark, boggy swamp somewhere or something like that. Timmy loves the extra swim space in this tank. And at the back, look at that. So that is our, what is it? It's not pearlweed. That is Monte Carlo, and it's all growing so well. And yeah, over there I've got a little pocket as well. Do you remember before I said that the fern would get huge? The fern is getting huge. Look at that from this side. Look, it's coming right forwards. Eventually it's going to cover this whole top section, isn't it? But that's cool. I can't wait for that to actually happen. Fish wise, we have lost one of the adults. I don't know where it is or where it went, but maybe. But saying that, I've never seen it. I've never seen them get anywhere near them. There's some proper sort of courting action going on at the moment there, isn't there? There's definitely a male. That's definitely a male right there. So yeah, just like I said to you in the last video of the ecosystem tank, I don't have to do anything for that tank, and I don't have to do anything for this tank either. I've had a couple of water changes. Again though, they're only tiny little ones, and just water top ups the other times. I think one of the reasons for that is because we've obviously got the ferns that are sat in the background, and they're in the aqua soil, and I think they're just pulling up any sort of nasties and nitrates from the water, so it stays perfectly good. Even the water testing shows that it's perfect. So Timmy is getting a little bit better. See where he's going now? That's where he likes to go and sort of just perch. He does come out a little bit and sit at the base of that rock. I was hoping he was going to come all the way along and sit right here, right under his basking lamp, but no, he doesn't do that. I mean, some musk turtles bask, some don't. I've had people in the comments before saying that their musk turtle basks all the time, and then others said, like me, their one never does. But we love you all the same, Timmy, don't we? We don't mind. You can bask or you can not bask. It's up to you. I will do what I want. I just want to swim. Let me swim faster. So that is Timmy's tank then, which is doing fantastically well. Now recently I set up another tank, this weekend actually in fact. This week's build video was for my albino longfin cherry barbs, that's right, yeah. So the tank ran into a small little problem to start with, but I've come up with a solution and it's going great now. And here is the tank, guys, look at it, it's looking great. So the first thing you're going to notice, what's all this on the water surface? This is the floating plant Salvinia. So I've just put it in there just to help with absorption of the nutrients. So we're getting a tiny little bit of a reading of ammonia and nitrite. Now this will be because the filter that we had that we put in at the back there, it was from a tank that had a load of snails in, but there wasn't any real bio load. So putting the fish in means that all of a sudden has got more work to do. Now the way around that is what I've done is just regular water changes, and it won't be a problem at all. Like I say, daily testing, guys. That's what you need to make sure you do, daily testing. For new setups, I'm talking like this. Like, how else are you going to know? Oh, my fish are behaving funny. What's wrong? Water change. Okay, good. What was wrong though? Let's not let it happen again. So the majority of the time, guys, I like to do what's known as a fish in cycle. What that basically means is that you're willing to do a lot of work. But I just feel it's far safer. So what I like to do, if I put fish in straight away without like a cycled tank, then I like to add beneficial bacteria as soon as they go in. Now, the next morning we come in, we test the water. If we're picking up any traces of ammonia and nitrite, we do a big water change, fill it back up, and we go again. And we add even more beneficial bacteria when we do the water change, because obviously we've taken some out, and we just keep that process going. I do that every day. Now, normally, after about a week and a half, you stop noticing the ammonia or nitrite going up at all. I tend to carry it on though for about 2 weeks for most tanks, all tanks to be honest. Like 2 weeks is my normal starting phase thing of regular water changes, water testing, if it's a fish in cycle and I'm not using a filter that's already been running for say like 6 months or something. So I just felt like it was important to explain this to you guys, because I didn't want you thinking that I do this big cycling thing on my tanks before fish go in. To be honest, I've never done like a proper cycle on a tank before putting fishes in. Either I've done the fish in cycle if it's like my first ever setups, or I've taken media from a specific tank and moved it across, called seeding, into another one. So for instance, say that filter there, maybe I cut the sponge in half there, and maybe I cut the sponge in half out of this one if it was new, say, move half across. We'll look at the neons going crazy. Hello guys, just take a little look at this tank actually, because it's doing great at the moment. It's growing like crazy. I've brought the light down now because we're not getting tons of algae. It's been set up for a good while. It's doing good. Look at the sage. The sage has just crept forwards. It's planted right at the very back, and it's come all the way into the foreground. I have to keep on top of that because this stuff just goes crazy. It will cover everything in no time, but I do love how natural it looks. So I went for a really, really green look to the tank because I wanted the neons to pop as much as they are, and it looks so good, doesn't it? Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, sometimes you can seed a filter by using media from another filter, and that's the majority of what I do in all my tanks, unless I just want to start fresh. Like, this is pretty much a fresh start because it was just snails. So yeah, fish in cycle, it's how I've always done it. I think it takes the complication out of it all as well, because when you read about the you know, how to cycle your tank, it's all with these different chemicals and all that. This is simple, isn't it? Just every day test. Is there ammonia? Is there nitrite? Yes, water change. And just keep going, keep doing that until it's all good.